So welcome to the first annual Bible Brodown Throwdown Quiz Show. I, Brian Chisholm, will MC the... we need to start over. I already messed up.
Hey, you're listening to a Bible Brodown podcast, a member of the Trinity Commission. This is where brothers come together to sharpen one another so we can rightly divide the Word of God. I'm Matt.
And this is Billy.
Welcome to the first annual Bible Brodown Throwdown Quiz Show. I, Brian Chisholm, will be the MC for this August event. I am the paterfamilias of the East Texas Chisholm clan. The goal is for our audience to get to know the main antagonists of Bible Brodown better, Billy and Matt. Two erstwhile shade tree theologians who met online more than a decade ago while playing City of Heroes, a multiplayer online game developed to snare nerds and suck time and money from both. They were both very successful at this game. As Helen Keller once said, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. She also asked who rearranged the furniture, but that's a different show. We will apply Helen's character building activities to Billy and Matt today in an attempt to reveal their true character. Now, Billy and Matt supplied most of the questions, and the questions they supplied were not shared with the other ones. So we're hoping for some surprises here. Billy, Matt, please say hello to the audience.
How are you guys doing? I have also brought a special guest for this throwdown because my wife always likes to throw things at me in real life, so I figured that she would want to join in this throwdown. So my wife Sara is here with me today.
Oh man, and it is just me. My face already hurts from smiling, so this will be fun.
So before we begin, let's elucidate your rights during the show. You do not have any rights. You do not have you do not have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of public opinion. There's no phone a friend, no ask the audience, and no 50-50. So here's the rules of the competition. Actually, this is a competition. This wasn't announced earlier. There will be an unannounced time limit on each question. If you exceed your time, the host will make a loud noise. That's me. There will be an undisclosed amount of points awarded for each question based on the answer that you've given. Again, this is up to me. This will be totally unbiased and fair process, and the person with the most points at the end of the throwdown, Matthew, will win the Golden Man Award for 2019. If you're on YouTube, here's a picture of the trophy for the year.
All right.
I like that.
Is that one of your old Golden Child trophies that you got?
Yeah, exactly. So, Matt and Billy, do you understand the rules?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
How do I appeal a rule?
You won't have to, Matthew. I promise. Okay. Gentlemen, do you have anything else to add before we begin? Okay,
no,
good.
it's nice to see you again. Again, you are our first guest ever, and best guest as well. We definitely think you're our best guest.
I was way better than JP.
That's right. Pritchett's still jealous. Yeah,
he is.
So let's get started. So here's the question for both of you guys. So we'll start with you, Billy. If you had a warning label, what would it say?
Warning label. Wow, that's a tough one. Warning label. It's almost like You're thinking of all sorts of things.
Pick me. I like the music.
Probably. Don't bring me your problems. I lack empathy, or something like that.
Well, that's
nice.
True. I was gonna say too efficient for his own good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Matthew, what's your warning label?
Oh man, I thought I was getting a different question.
try to game the system.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so here's
I'm
another.
bad being put on the spot.
Exactly. Well, you're gonna have a hard time today. Let's see. Let me ask you this question. This is for both of you guys. So, what, in your opinion, is the coolest story from the Bible?
Coolest story. Probably for me, one of my probably coolest, I think, is, now I'm not remembering the names. It's either Elijah or Elisha. I don't remember which. And his servant is with him. And there's an army coming, like a physical army coming after them. I know it's in the book of Kings. And the servant's just super, super, super scared. And I'm pretty sure it's Elijah. He like prays to the Lord, open up my servant's eyes, and the servant's eyes get open, and he sees that like surrounding them are basically angels and chariots of fire. He's like, there's more of us than there are of them. And I think that's just like super awesome. This kind of exposes that, God is with us. He's protecting us, that there isn't just what we see. There's like a battle going on all around us, a supernatural battle that goes on around us. It kind of appeals to, you mentioned something about nerd earlier with City of Heroes. It appeals to my like my nerd factor. Like, oh, cool. Like, it's like, superheroes and stuff.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. What about you, Matthew?
Kind of similar, and it's so I think it's the Battle of Ai. When the Israelites crossed the Jordan, went into the new land, they described the people there as being giants, and they were like grasshoppers compared to these other people. And in Ai, you have this battle where Israel is chasing. God holds the sun still, stops the earth. Stops the sun above the flat earth, and he. No, I'm kidding. But he holds the sun still. Israel is chasing this army. God is raining down fire, and I also pictured in my head that most of this army is giants. And so just picturing it as a painting is kind of like an epic, like, what? There's a bunch of little people and fire raining down from heaven. And yeah.
Oh,
I think it's pretty cool.
All right, good. Next question. And for both of you guys, boxers or briefs? And why?
And why?
That's really a question?
Boxer briefs. That's best of both worlds.
Boxer briefs. That's good.
I think that's probably, yeah, definitely. Probably boxer briefs. It's
probably?
Yeah.
What do you have in your,
that's what they are.
That's what they are.
Yeah, they're boxer
It's not
briefs.
a probably. It is.
It's not like
you just don't know what they're called?
Yes. I don't go there and like study the labels. I'm like, oh, that looks fine.
Well, they're not boxers, and they're not whitey-tighties.
They're just government issued, whatever they gave you.
I know they're bulletproof.
Okay, that's good.
So Kevlar underwear's a thing, huh? I've heard of that. So I was shopping yesterday at the grocery store, and I saw Matthew's wife. And I told her, Matthew said he always does the shopping, which she rolled her eyes and walked off. So what things do you do around the house that people would be surprised that shows your other side, maybe?
I'm going to let her answer this one.
Billy has spoiled me. Completely spoiled me. He cooks, he cleans, he does the dishes, he does the laundry, he does the grocery shopping, he folds the laundry, he puts the laundry away, he mows the lawn, he takes the trash out. And the reason he does all of this is because, remember the first thing I said? He's too efficient for his own good.
So you don't do it good enough for him.
He's a former Marine, so I won't be able to do any type of cleaning good enough for him.
That's nice.
He spoils me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Matthew, what about you?
So first two kids, when they were ready to go to sleep, they hated me. They didn't want anything to do with me. They wanted their mama. Now, third baby, she's all about the dad. And I can get her to calm down before Heather can get her to calm down. I can bounce her to sleep. I can, aside from nursing her, it doesn't work. No,
you really need to work on that.
Well, work in progress. But yeah, no, I have the mad baby skills for number 3.
Well, that's awesome. Great answer, Matthew. Thank you. So
that's because I'm not. Obviously, my answer just makes all of them look terrible.
It wasn't your answer. It was my answer.
I know.
You had no
That's
answer.
Good point. So, Billy, this is a question for you.
Okay.
And this is a Matthew supplied answer. How many times have you been told you're too short for this ride?
I can. So earlier I said warning label empathy. That's one thing that I can't empathize with. Is like my kids are short too, and my 9-year-old. We've been to multiple places this summer, like go-karts, and all have height requirements, and Go Apes course, and we were in the summer. We went to a go-kart place, and she finally met the line, but somebody was like, it also says you have to be age 10. So she met the height requirement for the first time ever. She was so excited, and Sarah's like, but you're not 10.
It's a safety concern, and it's height, not height.
Oh, yeah. Yes. This is what you get for doing everything in the house. You get correct.
So you didn't really answer the question.
I don't remember. Too many to count.
All right. So here's the question for both of you guys: what food won't you eat?
Brussels sprouts. They're little fart cabbages.
Cabbages.
That's a bonus 1,000 points for that answer.
It runs in the family.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I could give that answer too. Since you gave it, I won't do that one. Probably. What's the raw fish one?
Sushi.
Sushi.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'm not a sushi fan.
You don't
Sushi's
like mushrooms
amazing.
either.
I don't like what?
Mushrooms.
I can eat mushrooms.
Yeah, but you don't like them.
Y'all are clearly married.
So, hey, Matthew, this is a question for you. So, why did God make mosquitoes?
Mosquitoes or Speedos?
That would have been
mosquitoes.
better.
No? Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes. He didn't. I'm pretty convinced that they're a result of the fall. There's something Satan cooked up, and they managed to survive the flood. That's the only reason.
So, let me ask you this. This is a question for you, Billy. How many years of Dungeons and Dragons experience do you have?
Wow. That's
He's 44.
So 42 years of
I think my first encounter was probably in high school, and that's when my mom, told me I can never do that again.
High school was the 80s, right? Like 89?
Shut up. And then once I left and started fighting wars where I knew she couldn't tell me not to do it, that's when I really got into it. And plus what's funny is that last night I randomly decided to look up what I was being paid in 1993 as an E1 in the Marines, and it was $815 a month. So, because I had no money, I spent a lot of time in the barracks with other Marines who didn't have money, and we played Dungeons and Dragons a lot.
That's less than $400 a paycheck.
It
after
is,
taxes.
yeah.
Holy
So
cow.
that's 20 years, about, give or take.
It's been a while since I've played.
That's
true.
you were playing in, 94? So that's 25 years.
2001.
So,
Yeah,
are
but
you
I
still
haven't-
playing?
No, I haven't. Have I ever played
But-
since we've been married?
Not Dungeons and Dragons exactly, but I mean we played the
Hero
video
Kids.
game, which is a Dungeons and Dragons derivative.
Oh, like Neverwinter.
Neverwinter.
Yeah.
We've also done other tabletop games. We've got like 4 of them over there. We play Pathfinder.
There's Pathfinder right there.
Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff that's Dungeons and Dragons like based on.
I don't know if there's a sound for this. I need a nerd alert alarm. Can y'all wait a minute while I Google that?
I'll put one in there for you if I can remember.
So here's the question for you, Matthew. So what's the deal with millennials?
Aside from being the actual greatest generation,
Why
don't
do
know what you're asking.
millennials feel like they have to name everything? Everything's got to have a name.
Who doesn't name stuff? I don't understand. Like, you talking about like
Every
cars?
other
Like, who doesn't name their car?
I've never named a car.
That's just weird, though.
Oh, now I have. So let me ask this question. Let me ask this question a different way, Matthew. So how do millennials process religion or religion in the good sense of the word, Christianity, differently from their baby boomer parents?
This is going to be a broad generalization, but I think that millennials aren't quite as wrapped up in what tradition is, and we're willing to just kind of re-examine everything. And that has its goods and bad. I mean, up and down, pros and cons to that.
Might be some negative points on that answer. So let's move on. Let's see. Hey, Billy, this is for you. Is it true that you have been inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame for ninjutsu or something?
Yes, I have. That was in 1998 or 9. Yes.
Oh,
for what?
Fighter of the Year. But see, and people who have like no experience with martial arts may be like, "Wow, that's crazy." There's like multiple organizations and multiple it's kind of like the TV awards. There's like the Golden Globes and the Blink, all the different kinds, right? It's kind of like studios. Like every studio has their own award ceremony for their movies, right? Well, that's kind of like martial arts. So it's not as cool as it sounds.
So that was before D&D.
No, it was during. No, it was during.
During.
Yeah.
Oh, you were doing both.
That's why obviously every character I played in D&D was a martial artist because that's, I was living that.
Oh, nice.
They weren't ever as strong as me, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey, so Matthew, here's a question. So would you rather have God add 15 years to your life or be carried to heaven in a chariot of fire?
Wait, add 15 years or be carried to heaven in a chariot, like carried right now or when I die?
When you die.
Chariot of fire, for sure. Bring it. Let's go.
Especially if everyone else could see it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome.
So I have a lightning round, Billy. There's to be 3 questions. You have like 3 seconds each of these, and this is for extra points.
Oh, no.
So first, what is your name?
Billy.
What is your quest?
Truth.
What is the airspeed of an unladen swallow?
322 miles per hour.
Bah! Get the holy hand grenade out. Did you know the reference there?
I did.
You did, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Is it on the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
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 Bless your heart. Yeah.
I watched that movie back when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, so I haven't seen it since.
It travels over time well. Let's just put it that way.
How many times have you seen it?
We should watch it again. I haven't seen it in a long time either.
I'm asking the questions here. So here's some quick entertainment questions. Marvel or DC?
Who's answering?
Both of us, probably.
Yeah, both of y'all.
Are we talking like DC? That's my answer. DC.
Hold on.
Just.
Do you see this?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Wonder Woman?
Yes.
Bought the poster, bought the T-shirt, bought the.
Do you see all those right there? Those are pops. For those of you who aren't watching, we have a bookshelf back there, and those are pops, and probably 80% of them are various forms of Wonder Woman.
Oh, really?
And then right there is actually a Wonder Woman-like statue.
Do I need to go get it?
And you might think that this is like I bought all these. It's actually the one that has the scarf of Wonder Woman.
It's a shawl.
A shawl, yes.
Scarf, shawl.
My mother made it.
Oh, that's sweet. So, Matthew, Marvel or DC?
DC. I've always liked The Flash and Superman, Batman. I mean, I like Marvel, but DC's got some really cool characters.
That surprises me. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Wars.
Wars.
Trek.
Yeah, I say Trek too. Billy, this is I.
It goes back to this. It goes back to this epic thing. DC characters are like more like big and like epic, right? Like all of them.
But I choose DC.
Yeah.
Why would I choose Star Trek instead of?
Because you're obviously illogical.
That sounds like a
Star Trek reference.
Fox thing, not necessarily something that.
And Star Wars is more fantasy epic too. That's Matt and I just obviously.
Because everything.
Although we have
on Star Trek,
a
really
large age difference. He's so much older than I am. We still, connect a lot.
You're talking about Matt being older than you?
Yes, obviously. Look at the pictures.
Yeah, that's why I got the millennial question and he didn't.
So I was okay with Star Wars until The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since Jonathan's not here to argue with us, that was terrible. He loved it. No, he's wrong.
Oh, did he really?
The last 2 or 3 I've just been bored with.
There's a great theory for the next one that I hope is true, but we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers. The last one makes the first 2, these most recent 2, better.
Yeah, definitely.
I like the one where they all got wiped out in the tidal wave at the end. That was a good one.
Rogue One? Yeah,
Rogue
I liked it too.
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
it was like the Dirty Dozen meets Star Wars.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
That's an extra 10,000 points.
You really need to get some better references because you're kind of no good. What do you want me to do?
So let me ask you this, Billy. I'm asking you this. What was the last movie or TV show that made you cheer up?
Oh. So I have a confession. I cheer up at a lot of movies. And it's not because they're sad. It's because any movie that has loyalty and honor and integrity and courage, in the Braveheart, bawling like a little baby. That kind of movie. Just any kind of scene that I probably bawled at a lot of the Marvel movies. The scenes where there was yeah, I love that stuff, and it touches my warrior ethos. There's a
TV show on Netflix called Medal of Honor or something, and it's about Medal of Honor winners, and he's like, I can't watch that. I can't even watch the preview.
Yeah, the preview, I was
just... How about A Few Good Men?
Oh, yeah.
That's in my top 10.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I quoted that movie all the time.
It is quotable, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
How about you, Matthew? What's the last movie or TV show you teared up in?
Endgame, Avengers Endgame. I mean, the whole last 20 minutes or so, aside from the one, there's one goofy scene in there, but most of the in battle, I'm like, oh, it's happening, and Cat picks up the hammer, I'm like, go get him, and then but the thing that gets me the most was when they flash back to Tony Stark talking to his daughter. Spoiler warnings for the movie. Yeah.
If you haven't seen the movie, stop. Skip the next.
You stop 10 seconds
1
ago.
minute.
About 10 seconds ago.
It's been out since April 16th. I mean, we all memorize that date.
I know, yeah. But when Tony Stark's talking to his daughter, and she does the "I love you 2000" or "I love you 3000" thing, and then the end where he tells her in the holograph, he tells her "I love you 3000." I'm like, oh, yeah. You got 2 little girls, and that's just.
Oh yeah, anything with kids.
Had to look away.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's one more entertainment question, and this is for both of you. I'll start with Matthew. Are you more like Thanos or Jar Jar Binks?
Well, Thanos, obviously. I mean, look at me. I'm huge and intimidating, like him. I don't joke around.
It's like
Billy, do you want to take a stab at that one?
a strange comparison.
I know. Obviously, I have way more Thanos qualities than Matt does. I mean,
so the guy that killed half the universe, you got.
Mm-hmm. I tell you all about it, but then I'd have to kill you.
He's also one of those people that if anything happened to me or the kids, he would totally go taken on whoever he could. Even if they had nothing to do with it, he would go take it on them.
So Billy, you've worked for the federal government for how long?
Well, if you include military, over 20 years.
Excellent. And you know a lot of secrets?
Silence.
I know a lot of secrets about a lot of things, yes.
Can you tell us about any alien encounters you've been aware of?
Are we speaking like I come in peace or like illegal people not supposed to be here?
Yeah, the former.
I have no idea if aliens exist.
Have you never been there?
Have we had an episode?
I was going to say, haven't you guys had an episode about aliens or conspiracy theories or something like that?
Yeah, we had. I think the alien one discussion was a mini back a couple years ago, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And basically, my point is, well, if aliens exist, they have really nothing to do with us.
Or they're demons or something.
Or they're really dumb. They always land at night in the desert. I mean, would they land by a freeway somewhere? I mean,
why do they land out? Why would they always land in cornfields? I don't get it.
Yeah.
We're in trouble in Nebraska. All there are here are cornfields.
Yeah, you guys are a target. So let's change horses here and go to a little more serious questions. This is a theological question. Well, let's ask this. I'll start with you, Matthew. What spiritual gift do you wish you had?
So I think. Well, I always wish I had something like healing, because I don't like seeing people suffer, and I'd love to just be able to lay my hands on them and say, boom, God, clear that up. Or and second answer would be like prophecy, but probably more healing. I think just being able to help people like that.
That's cool. What do you think yours is?
My teaching, wisdom, discernment.
Okay. Billy, what would you?
He just picked three. Teaching, wisdom, discernment, encouragement, giving, I went back in line multiple times.
Every time I took that test online, it gave me different answers, so I just figured I'd take them all.
So, Billy, what about you? What spiritual gift do you wish you had?
Well, that's a really good one that he picked. Since this is a get to know you episode, when I was a kid, probably before I was even a believer, whenever I would see anyone that was disabled or whether that be physically disabled or mentally disabled, my heart just completely broke. And I it was when I was a Christian, because I used to pray to God. I'm like, God, if you could just take my life and heal everyone, go ahead and do that.
Sure.
And that was as a really small kid, so that'd be an awesome gift. But probably because it's not my personality type, evangelism. The kind of person that could just go up and talk to absolutely anybody.
Charismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
If somebody comes up to me and starts talking, I'm fine. But just the natural, just go up to everyone, and you can, everyone is your friend kind of thing. You just spark up conversation with everyone. That's an awesome gift.
Matthew, he took your answer and did better, and then he also gave another answer that was good. So I hate to tell you, you need to
Step up your game, golden child.
You need to level up here. No, that's good. That's good. So let me ask you this for both of you guys. Billy, Matthew, I'll start with you on this one. If you could give your younger self a piece of biblical advice or knowledge, maybe go back, when you're a teenager or whatever, when you're first starting to work your Christian walk, what would it be?
Calvinism is wrong. Work harder. Don't stop there. Keep going. You can figure this out a little better.
That's a good one. It would save you a lot of time, wouldn't it?
Save a decade. Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's
good. Billy, what about you?
And you said this was theological advice, right?
Well, whatever. I mean, you can make it whatever you want.
If it was theological in nature.
Or say Christian, spiritual. Let's say spiritual.
Kind of like along the same lines is that, it took me a good while, when I was in my 30s, I used to think I knew a lot, but I knew a lot about the tradition I was taught. And I never really, I kind of just took it for granted, and didn't truly examine things. So kind of like piece of advice, you really don't know much. Probably, your journey, don't have a big head. You don't know much, study more and open your eyes. Something like that. Yeah.
So to tag onto that question, Matthew, if your future self showed up tomorrow and started giving you advice, would you take?
No, I'd ask him how he time traveled, and we'd go down that rabbit hole because I'd want to know exactly what's going on here. But no, if I got some kind of message from the future saying, I'd be skeptical. I wouldn't believe that it was me. So, someone's pretending. So this is all a facade.
The question assumes that you somehow proved that it's you.
Okay, if I could prove that it's me.
Thank you, Billy.
Rare. If I could prove that it's me, I would take my advice, but I wouldn't believe it's me. So,
absolutely. I mean, I know. I was going to say something really terrible, obviously I'm smart, so if I came back and told myself something, I'd listen to myself. I mean, who should? Everybody should listen to me.
You broke up. Did you say you were gullible? Is that what I heard?
You're so narcissistic.
Now I know the prank to play on Billy.
You might be like Biff. You might be like Biff and not,
Right, yeah.
Try to give yourself the magazine. So let me see. I got it. So let me ask you this for both of you guys, and you can't use Jesus as this answer. So excluding Jesus, which biblical character would you want to be stranded on a desert island with?
Say it again. You broke up a little.
Which person in the Bible would you want to be stranded with on a deserted island?
Who goes first?
Go ahead.
Paul. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to just sit down and have a conversation with Paul. That'd be fascinating.
Maybe y'all could meet on Malta. He's been there.
Malta?
It's an island. That's where he was stranded.
Yeah.
Learn the Bible, son. Billy?
There's so many that probably David. I've always appealed to David because I picture him as a short guy. He's like the short kid, and was out with the sheep, and nobody thought he could do anything. Then he takes out a giant, and then he becomes king, and all that stuff. So I've always had a thing for David, connected with him in the Bible, and I think everything that he saw from his dad, or not his dad, but from being almost being killed by Saul, and then his children and Bathsheba and Solomon and just everything that he went through, I think is just pretty cool. I think he had he was a man after God's own heart. I mean, nobody said that about Paul.
Wasn't David the one that was dancing naked in the street?
I don't know. I don't remember that one.
And his wife says, "Are you making a fool out of yourself?" And he goes, "I'll do worse than that." It's when the ark came back. Do y'all know that story?
Yeah. I don't think he was naked though.
Yeah, no, it says naked.
I don't think it does say that.
It doesn't
What
say
translation is that?
He's not naked. He's naked.
Yeah.
That's the Southeast Texas redneck translation. That's
right. So when you get to heaven, if this is even possible, I assume it is. When you get to heaven, what is the one question? First question you're going to ask God?
Oh, I know that. I know that answer for me.
Yeah, that's a good answer or a good question. Question that I want to ask. Oh, wow.
Go ahead, Sarah. While he's thinking, go ahead. And tell
So
us what
my
it is.
question is about genetics and nature versus nurture versus nature. I want to know how genetics works, how two people can be born in the same family and come from the same parents and have the same background but be so bipolar different, and how nature versus nurture works and all of that. That's my question.
That'd be interesting. You can sit down with Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud and have a discussion over lunch. Oh, they're probably not there. Billy, did you have an answer?
What question would I ask? Why? I don't know. Why? Man, it's tough.
Matthew?
It'd be more of a request. I mean, a request is a question, but I would want to hear the history of the world from his perspective. So like we have the Bible and we've got, what little history we can gather about the ancient world up till now, but hearing it from his perspective and, there was this king doing this stuff, but this person over here in this village, this one little dude that nobody's ever heard about, he's fabulous. He was great. And then like, it would give you an entirely different perspective on history. I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. Billy, did you come up with something?
Yeah, that kind of like inspired me about, what are the pivotal moments in history that no one really knows about, in regarding to the faith. What are those pivotal moments, those kind of like unsung heroes that no one really ever heard about, but you're going to get to heaven and, you're going to see someone with all these like crowns, and I'm just making this up, but all these crowns, and you're like, who are you in history?
Yeah, that's great. So what was the last theological book you read, Matthew?
The last one I finished, because I'm kind of reading through one right now, but the last one I finished might have been By Allegiance Alone by, what was his name? It's one about faith, pistis being allegiance. It was either that or, what is it? Honor, Patronage, Kinship, and Holiness by De Silva. I don't remember which one that was, though. I do a lot more listening than reading.
No, that's true, yeah. Billy, what's yours, the latest?
Last theological book that I read was probably the one that Matt and I helped write.
That's not narcissistic. Don't worry about it.
Are you not allowed to put a shameless plug in?
Maybe I.
That's the one I got on my over beside my chair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loaned it to you, and
yeah,
you never give it back.
I've read like 20 pages.
Well, that's more pages than episodes that you've listened to. So. Yeah. So when Leighton finally sent us a copy. And when I got it and I had a hard copy, I'm like Matt, I digitally read and listen. So I went and had a hard copy. I read it in like a couple nights.
Yeah, it's not big.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
I
gotta change my answer. I remembered. It's Angels by Michael Heiser. I read his book recently.
Prepping for October.
Yeah, kind of. A little bit, but I'm going to take I'm taking a different route on, I think what we're going to do is instead of being an angel episode, it'll be a spiritual beings episode, and just explain it up in the front. Angels are one type. but here are the other types, and then kind of just break down what those are. And it would take like 8 episodes to go through all of them in depth, so it'll be a quick review.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you this: Billy, what hidden skill do you have that would surprise people who know you?
Nunchuck skills.
Well, obviously that wouldn't surprise anyone.
That's right.
I mean, come on.
Because he was in the Teen Choice Awards of
What
martial
hidden
arts.
skill like that I don't really let anyone know about?
You're good at cooking. You're good at ironing.
That's
Shiny boots.
a good
But
one.
that's like
I can
those
shine
are
boots.
that would be expected since I was in the military.
Well, some people may not put that together.
Cooking, I suppose, or
I mean, you can like. throw
I'm really
stuff
good
into
at-
a skillet, and it tastes pretty good.
yeah, I'm really good with kids. Like every kid likes me.
Ooh, young
Oh, that's
kids.
good.
Young kids
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
like him. I think
That's
it's because
awesome.
he's on their level.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they see eye to eye and stuff?
They do. Yeah.
They see eye to eye.
See, this is why I brought her along.
I just wanted to get the comment once. If I could do it once, I mean, I can leave now. I'm happy.
Matthew, what's your hidden skill?
Oh man.
Well, you told us about the baby whisperer, but
That's right.
maybe I don't know if you get something else.
I mean, I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast, but rock climbing, I kind of am in love with that. I don't get to use it so much these days, with injuries and everything, but that, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a good one.
Water skiing. That's one that nobody knows about.
Because you used to go to the lake all the time, right?
Yep. I've done, if you can do it on the water, I've done it from slalom to barefoot to trick skis to, I've been in pyramids. Yeah.
Were you the top of the
Sure.
pyramid?
Yep. I was.
They always put the little guys up
I wonder
there.
why that was. Yeah.
I can do backflips off. That's why.
Yeah.
Now
Somebody
that's
throws me the
interesting.
right-
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
If somebody throws me the right way, I can do a backflip too.
The landing's the key, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's
which
water.
what advice? So here's a spiritual question. What advice, based on your experience, would you give a new Christian, Matthew?
Similar to, I think, what Billy was going to tell himself if he could go back in time, which would be, you keep an open mind. Don't think you figured it out in a year or 2 years or 10 years. I mean, just always leave room for growing and sharpening, because there's nobody that's got it perfectly worked out. So, and it's okay to be wrong. Just learn from it.
Yeah, that's good. Billy, what do you think?
Probably that you are going to run into a lot of people who have the Bible as their source of truth, but you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of different opinions on what that truth is. And most people are really just trying, they're going with the best they know, and they're trying to be faithful to God. So just because they have different beliefs than you, they're in a denomination that's different than you, they may, most of them are honestly and genuinely trying to be faithful to God. And that's what God wants at the bottom line. It's not about having all the right doctrines, right? It's about being faithful to Him with what you know.
Give a little grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. What's the what's the one thing in the Bible, Matthew, you would change if you could?
One thing in the Bible I would change.
I think that question came from that question came from you, Billy.
Yes, I think.
One thing in the Bible I would change. I would have God put down some specific hard dates that we could look forward to. And not knowing, that's really stressing me out.
It's not for me to
Maybe
know.
add a FAQ in there for us so we can.
He took that in a different direction. I was figuring like, okay, what's in there that you would want to change? But he's like adding, and I think there's a warning about that, about adding stuff.
Yeah.
I asked him to do it. I'm not adding it.
Well, I hesitate to ask that question because it sounds kind of heretical just to ask the question. But that's why I credited it to Billy.
No, I think there's definitely. I think I pulled that question up because of Braxton. How I think he's answered that question. Like he's like, there's things in the Bible that I don't like that I wish weren't in there. That make it hard to evangelize or to bring people to Christianity. Like God going in and killing all the entire people from men, right. Women, and children and things like that. That's where I was going towards the question, something like that. But I think it would be cool to have dates in there too, in FAQ.
So, Matthew, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Who in the world came up with that? That's a dad one.
My son. I think Isaac did.
A horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Yeah, duck-sized horses for sure, because that they sound awesome. I would want to keep one.
Little guys.
Yeah, just like the stall.
So you guys don't get on Reddit much, I assume. So
I'm there all the time, actually. Just probably not in the same spot that you are.
Never been on Reddit.
So what's the difference between being spiritual and being religious? Billy?
I think religious is someone who's going through a lot of rites and rituals and traditions, whereas being spiritual is someone who has a heart for God and for following Him.
Right. Matthew?
Well, so, generally I would agree with Billy, but recently, and I think partially because of the internet and how quickly things have grown, ideologies have grown, spirituality can be a really messed up thing too.
It's Christian spirituality.
Not just Christian, but any kind of spirituality. Yeah. So, religion has its downfalls because you can just get caught up in the tradition of it and the ceremony of it, and not really, it's just a social thing that you do or to be seen doing. And then spirituality can be a negative too. But I guess if we keep it in terms,
right.
If we keep it in terms of just Christianity, then yeah, spiritual is it's more of a heart thing than a outward flesh thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have those people who are like, I do yoga, I'm spiritual.
Right, yeah. Eastern time.
I meditate daily.
Can you find value? There's a lot of, and I get it, there's a lot of, nowadays, or I guess it's always been this way, but people, like you said earlier, Matthew, that millennials eschew some of the, traditions, but can you find value in traditions, and how do you go about doing that? Or
that's hard for me to answer. Well, recently, actually, I was talking to who was it? I think it was Pritchett about I don't remember what the topic was, but he said, I think it was the different views of hell. It was part of his talk actually for the Rethinking Hell conference, and he mentioned that the annihilationism side has a lot of scriptural support for it, and then the traditional side, eternal conscious torment, has a lot of traditional support for it. To which I said, I don't care, and he said, well, I do. That's important, and like I can't figure out why. I mean, and it really, so some people back then agreed that this was right, and everybody since then didn't bother to question it, and they all agreed it was right, and therefore that's important. I don't understand. I mean, like, I can't go back and have a conversation with the guys who came up with it in the first place. So I have to just look at the argument and say, this makes more sense to me. The tradition, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
Little House on the Prairie is about dragons.
Yeah. Have I given that story? I think I've given that story before on the podcast where, in my family, I started a tradition, and I teach my kid that Little House on the Prairie is about dragons. But yet we've never actually read the book to know that it's not about dragons. They just take their dad's word for that Little House on the Prairie is about dragons. And they go their whole life thinking that, and then they have kids, and they teach their kids that Little House on the Prairie is about dragons. And now you have 3 generations that think Little House on the Prairie is about dragons, when no one has actually looked to see if Little House on the Prairie is about dragons. They just assume that that's how it is, and that's, they'll fight to the death to tell you that it is. Of course it is. My dad wouldn't lie to me, and my grandpa wouldn't lie to me, and that's how things started. So it's
We call that, at work, we call that like a wet monkey theory. So you've got 5 monkeys at the bottom of a ladder, and there's bananas at the top of the ladder. But every time the monkey tries to go get the bananas, somebody sprays the monkeys. So the monkeys learn not to go try to get the bananas. One at a time, they get changed out for orangutans. Well, every time an orangutan tries to go up, the monkeys hit him. The orangutans don't know why. It's just the monkeys do it. So then they all change out. None of the orangutans will go up and get the bananas, so they all die.
Sarah, do you work at a zoo?
No.
That's a common military.
It's a military thing.
Where, people are doing, the orangutans have no idea, they've never been sprayed with water, but they don't.
That's what they've been taught,
yeah,
and that's just what they do.
Yeah.
And so it's the same kind of thing with tradition. It
Right.
may not have a true basis for something, but it's just what we've been taught, and that's what we do.
Yeah, so there's, you mentioned, is there any good value in tradition? And, I mean, yes, obviously. You can have comfort in tradition. I'm really scraping here. You can have comfort where, we did this last year and it brings back memories and things like that. But
you can get connections through tradition. You can hold on to the past.
Yeah, I'm tradition. The same way as Matt, that, tradition, especially biblically speaking, I'm like, whatever. But that's how I'm also in life. Like, my family didn't grow up with like a lot of traditions.
We have no traditions. Her
family did, and since we've been married, we haven't had any traditions, right? Because that's I've tried to like make them, but it doesn't work.
So, is there a danger? Is there a danger in the thinking that traditions of men are bad, and they can be bad? I agree with that, but that keeps us from participating in a local body because we want to be spiritual, but we don't want to be involved in religion, and we isolate ourselves. Is that a potential danger?
Like, it's traditional to go to a church on Sunday, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Why can't we go on Tuesday? No, whatever. I mean,
or why do you even go at all? That's archaic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think. I think every single person gets raised, obviously, in a family that teaches tradition. Everything that you learn from your parents is, really from tradition, and that's kind of your foundation. So everybody starts with the foundation of tradition, and as you grow older, it's kind of your job to re-examine those things and understand that not everything that you were taught, even by your teachers, was correct. But some people never get out of that. They never ever challenge that. They just kind of go through life thinking, look at all those smart people and they were closer to the original source. So obviously, they were more accurate than we are. And I bring up, Paul spent years in places and then left. And like a year later, he had to write a ton of letters because they were stupid and forgot and did everything wrong. So that doesn't really give me a lot of confidence that just because they were closer to the source that they got everything right. And then, obviously tradition, for 1,000 years, the Israelites, had tradition. And when Christ came, he's like, you guys are only following tradition and, everybody's wrong. And then we had the same thing happen with the Catholic Church for thousands of years. No one questioned it. And
they did. They questioned it. They just got dead.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, they got
dead. Yeah. But your answer actually maybe. So I do have an answer for your last one. How can tradition be good? I think that it is useful for those who are immature, not just spiritually but physically. Raise a child up in the way they should go, and they won't depart from it. Meaning, you give them this tradition, this pattern of behavior, and then when they get older. That's instilled. It's kind of a second nature, but at some point they're going to be mature enough to say, why am I doing this? And at that point, when they are mature enough to ask that question, then hopefully they're mature enough to decide on a different pattern of behavior and implement that. And same with Christians. If there is some tradition, like when you're dealing with children and youth and you go on Sunday, you get in this pattern of being there, of engaging, of participating. When you're old enough to actually ask the question, wait, why are we doing this? Like, can I do it another way? Is it wrong? Well, then maybe you're old enough to decide to do it a different way that's still appropriate and kind of a Romans 14 kind of, be convinced in your own mind. So I see tradition, I guess, good for training. but not mandatory for people who are mature enough to actually, examine it.
What is the let me ask you this: Are you intelligent? Really?
No.
Bull.
You can't. What kind of question is that? I'm like Moses.
That was the next question.
I'm like Moses in where is it at?
You're the most humble.
Yeah,
humble
where
person.
Moses is, said to write the first 5 books, but yet in one of those books, it says that Moses was the most humble man on earth. So,
and he wrote it, right?
that's yeah.
So
I've had good grades my whole life. We'll say it that way.
The point of the question is, I guess, is there danger in being intelligent and understanding the theology and spending a lot of time digging into it and missing
Yeah, for sure.
the practical, life-changing stuff. Is that?
I think there's. I heard something today. I drove for 6.5 hours, and one of the things I heard today is about materialism. Right? That the more like things you have and wealth you have, the less you need to rely on God. Right? It's those people who are in poverty and such that are reaching out to God. And I think the same thing could almost be said with, any kind of like excess, whether that be intelligence or physicality or anything like that, can become like self-reliance, right? Like, well, I'm smart enough, I can do this on my own, or I'm, physical enough, I don't need God. So I think all of those things, and I think that's why Scripture says that He uses the weak. And weak can be in a variety of different things, whether that be weak in intelligence or speaking or whatever.
Yeah. Matthew?
And that question reminds me of a C.S. Lewis book called The Great Divorce. And I know you've read it, Dad. It's where people are kind of in this purgatory thing, and they go up into heaven, and they have a chance to talk to saints and decide whether or not they want to stay. Ignore the theology for a second. There's one guy on this bus that's going up from purgatory who's a philosopher, and he's described as someone who enjoys the questions more than the answers. And it's a negative. It's something that, like, they're so caught up in wanting to debate and ask questions and constantly that they never are satisfied and settle on and have peace with whatever the answer is. And so, yeah, I try to keep that in mind. Like, don't be like that. I mean, I enjoy discussions a lot, obviously. We have a discussion group. What's the last count, Billy? We got 850 people in that group now?
Something like that.
I enjoy that. I enjoy asking questions, but at the same time, I have to remind myself, where we do have answers, be satisfied with those and act on them. Don't just, put them aside and keep pursuing other stuff. We have a job to do.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is a pretty personal question. In your process of sanctification in your own life, what's the last, I like to think of it as, when they crossed the Jordan, finally, they made the little monument of stones, right? So maybe we make monuments in our lives to mark things of passages. Do you remember the last time that spiritually God has brought you through something that you felt like that was a marker in your life, that you've maybe become closer to Him, or it's been a big change for you? Can you think of anything like that?
I think mine was recently, actually. I guess I don't want to give away too many details because it's not really important. But so I had a discussion with a church pastor recently, campus pastor. We have a multi-site church, and I was asked to not teach. They didn't ask me to leave. They want me to stay there and want my family to participate. But I was asked not to teach anymore because I disagree with the Baptist faith and message on the issue of once saved, always saved. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but when I had any conversations with the campus pastor, I thought they went really well. And in leaving those conversations, I didn't feel like I ever spoke, out of haste, or I wasn't ever upset. I managed to stay patient through the whole thing and merciful and kind and like graciously handled the situation. And just looking back on it, I was like, I'm so glad. Like, had this been 2 years ago, I would have gotten frustrated. I would have, I definitely would have regretted saying some things that I would have said. So I feel like I've matured enough to handle what some might. It's a hard situation, but I think I handled it well.
That's good. Bailey,
So we're
can
talking
you,
like
anything?
something that changed my like spiritual behavior, or because you mentioned sanctification and that. Do you have an answer that you can think of, first of all?
For me?
Anything?
For
No,
you?
for me.
I mean, everything with your job, moving down here and all that. We really had to rely on God for that, and everything just kind of, at the end, everything had fallen right into place.
Yeah.
And it seems like our last two moves have been like that, where we really had to rely on what God was putting in front of us and trust that that was what He wanted us to do, and everything fell right into place.
Yeah. That was a year ago. I don't know when it was, but it was actually like the advice I told I would give my younger self. I think that's been something that has really improved my thought process on other people and differing views. Is that, most people are trying to be faithful, to understand that God's mercy is abundant and His grace is abundant. And, there's a lot of passages in Scripture about people being ignorant and God showing grace and mercy because of their ignorance. And looking at the disciples and all the struggles that they had in trying to understand what Christ was saying, right? But yet God, He still loved them and He still counted them faithful because, like I said, they were doing the best that they could. And that really, just changes my outlook on so many different groups, that many of them are relying on tradition. I said this before. I mean, a lot of people who claim a specific denomination or group name, probably 10% of them actually know like a lot about what those differences are compared to someone else. How many like Southern Baptists know what it means to be a Southern Baptist, or how many Catholics really know what it means to be, and all the things involved with like being a Catholic or a Lutheran, etc. And most
I
of them
was born and raised.
Yeah, most of them are just born and raised that way, and it is what it is, and they're just trying to be faithful with what they know. I think understanding that it allows you to have a lot more patience and kindness and, like humility and, coming to them as a humble teacher, to help them. And I think, I don't know when that really hit me.
The Brodown.
I know
to a large extent, that was.
Yeah.
But after our conversation, after the initial Brodown, when we both realized how wrong we were, long we were wrong, it's like, oh crap, I can't be mad at anybody else at this point because,
right.
So yeah,
that's good. So let me ask you this last question about spiritual things: is have you ever met a Calvinist that wasn't elect?
Oh, actually, where was this? You know what? It might be anecdotally. Someone that we know on Facebook said that one of their friends was a Calvinist, but was convinced that they weren't elect.
Really?
Yeah, and I can't remember who told me that, but yeah, they just, because they didn't see the essentially the fruit of the Spirit, they were still struggling with sin to the point that they were like, well, I must not be elect, but this has to be right. So since my behavior isn't changing, therefore God didn't choose me.
Which is
heartbreaking.
The guy that Braxton, the video, he was the one that called Jonathan his sidekick.
Pine Creek?
Yes.
The atheist? Yeah.
That's his perception, is the Calvinist understanding of Scripture. He can teach it as well as any Calvinist. I think he was before he gave up the faith. So
yeah, he says he was like a Christian for like 20 years or something, and he agrees with Calvinism. That's true. And I guess any Calvinist who it does say that they're not elect would necessarily not be a Christian. So there you go. There's an example.
So
I know
I would like
funny, but we got all serious.
I would like to apologize to Luis for that question.
And in like 3 years when she catches up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Exactly. Driving to work 45 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go to our dad joke section. No, every correct answer is worth 10,000 points. So this is like Quidditch. You get all these people flying around trying to maim and kill each other. In Harry Potter case, there's a little flying thing and the game's over. So, one right.
Where's that nerd alert? Where's that?
Yeah, speaking of nerds, wow. If we would have said Star Trek, Star Wars, or Harry Potter, your dad would have been like, Harry Potter.
With that voice, Harry Potter.
Is that what he sounds like?
Harry Potter.
Harry.
So, Billy, what car did the wise man drive to see Jesus? Just say give up if you.
I give up.
The Bible says the wise men all came in one accord.
One accord.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Who was the greatest financier? I forget how you say that in the Bible.
Financier.
I just lost it. Who's the greatest financier in the Bible?
I don't know.
Noah. He was floating his stock while everyone else was in liquidation.
Oh my gosh.
Billy, who was the most business savvy woman in the Bible?
Where's that time's up buzzer?
Yeah, I need it.
Something ruthless.
No.
I don't know.
That's the next question. Pharaoh's daughter, she went down to the bank of the Nile and pulled out a little profit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here, Matthew, I'll give you the answer. What kind of man was Boaz before he got married?
Ruthless.
10,000 points. Billy, what do we have that Adam never had?
A belly button.
Dang it.
Did I get it?
No, it's ancestors.
Oh,
that should
a belly button too.
Belly button,
I totally got it right. That's not fair. I'm challenging the court.
Matthew, who is the greatest comedian in the Bible?
Yeah, I don't know.
Samson. He brought the house down. And our final dad joke. Billy, you may know this one, so this gives you a chance to possibly almost catch up. How is the Bible like baseball?
I don't know.
The first page, it says, in the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
And we have so many dorky dads listening to this. You're welcome for the ammo.
What did I just... Oh, I guess it's not really a dad joke, the whole John the Fastest thing.
Oh, yes.
Have you guys talked about that before, John the Fastest?
I've mentioned it too. I know Matthew has heard it because I mentioned it before.
Mm-hmm.
So, who can make a computer sound like calculating? Like,
what computer sounds like that when it's calculating something?
Not now. It's like actually like the calculator.
That's okay.
Hold on. All that calculating, just print it out a piece of paper. It shows the winner. Matthew.
Oh, what an unexpected result. Golden child.
Good job, son. Good job. So anyway, I think that's been looks like it's been almost an hour or an hour or more.
It's rigged.
Any last words from you guys before we finish?
Let
me ask you this. Before we go. And I guess everybody's listening to this probably knows I'm on Bible Brodown Facebook page, and I really like it. And I want to compliment you guys for setting the tone for a place that we can go and not people be flaming each other. So, what do y'all think about that? What do you think about with God's help that you've built over the last couple of years? And I mean, what's your thoughts on that stuff?
I think
with the podcast and the Facebook group and everything.
Every now and then we get emails just saying thanks And I tell people, like, you know, I don't go into detail on what the emails say, but it's pretty meaningful. Just when we get those out of the blue, someone's like, "Hey, thanks for this. It really helped me with this situation I was in, or this point in my life." And whether it's a Facebook message or an email or whatever, knowing that it's what we've taught is out there, it's helping people, it's doing what we intended it to do, is awesome. And then seeing some of those people come to the group and be awesome in the group, like Billy posted recently. We're blessed by that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Billy, you got anything?
Yeah, it's just amazing when you have no budget, you just have a like, hey, we have a voice, and you know, God has kind of taught us something pretty cool, and he's pretty amazing, and I want to tell people about him. Let's see what we can do with this. And we're like, let's just do it. And, you know, 3 years later, you know, you look at some of the things that you can look at with, like, who's listening and things like that. And we have people all over the entire world that are listening to us. And that's humbling that, first of all, that, you know, without ever advertising or anything like that, we have that we've already got that reach. And it's just amazing to see. You know, and we're not, I think what's really cool is that we're not like, we don't have a niche in the market, like some special thing. You know, we're just, I was telling Matt this, I think yesterday, you know, we're just one of like the 10,000 Bible teachers out there. I mean, we don't have like for instance, Leighton has mentioned this before, you know, he's Soteriology 101. He's got like this specific brand thing that he does, right? So when somebody's looking that up, they're going to find him, right? Because he's like the head guy for this kind of thing. But we're just Bible teachers, you know, that's kind of been our thing. But yet people have found us and said that we've made impacts on their lives and things like that. And that's humbling. I'm kind of, you know, I'm interested in the future and what it's going to do. I mean, maybe we'll, you know, go down burning or I don't know, but we pray that, you know, we continue to grow and that we've never done this for numbers. You know, I think we mentioned in the beginning and we'd be happy if we had one person listening. So.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, in closing, sorry, go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Well, Billy's always been very, very humble about it. And Matt, I'm sure you have too. And it's really neat to see how when you guys, people have actually, I've had a couple of people ask me, we have a couple friend of ours that have been recently listening, and they found it through me talking about it, not because it seems like in Billy's like personal life, he doesn't want to tell people about Bible Brodown. It's something that he does through social media, and that's kind of how he keeps it. And if our friends were to find him, that would be fine. He doesn't go out of his way to tell other people about it. I do. I feel like I have to, because I know he won't market himself, I tell all my friends about it. And he's really humble about it, and it's neat to see. You guys could get big heads about this, and you don't, and you're humble, and I hope everybody knows that you guys are humble.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Sarah. I guess in closing, I will say this. I think that God is the author and creator of beauty. He's good. God is good. God creates good things. And as long as you guys, so far, y'all reflected God's character in what y'all done, right? And that's it. And I'm proud of both of y'all for that. I mean, I think anyway, I'm just proud of you, and I think you're doing a good job. And I don't think you'll get a big head. I mean, just keep seeking God and following Him, and then wherever it goes, it goes. And I'm confident you'll do that. So I guess that's all I got. You guys got any final words?
Yeah. First, thank you. So first and greatest, the guest on the show, and now first person to host that wasn't one of us.
Yeah.
So we appreciate it. That's awesome. And Billy, we hadn't actually talked about this, but I think schedules are kind of normalizing again. School's back in, so we should be getting back into our routine of episode on Monday, minicast on Thursday. What those are going to be about, we have no idea, but they will start happening. And I am working on the fun October episodes. So yeah. I think things are get back into.
We can say so. This will come out next Monday. on is it the 6th? Yeah, the 6th. We're going to be, of September, we're going to be recording, unless something changed again, with Chris Date over on Rethinking Hell.
Yes, yeah. That's 2 weeks from today, so...
The week after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Week of Labor Day. The end of that week.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we still need to get one of the guests on that we talked to over the summer that, schedules are hard, okay?
You got a baby.
We did. Another baby whisperer. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things and all that.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Anything else?
So we would like to.
Oops. I hit the stand and it's got a spring on it and it kind of sounds like Doom.
It is.
It does sound like Doom.
We've been trying to do better on the video stuff and graphics and things like that. This will be the first time that we have a new background on the video, and I think it looks better. I think I showed you, Matt, with the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and if there's any people out there who do this stuff for a living or want to give us hints on how to do this stuff, we'd be happy to listen for free, of course.
Remember that thing earlier about no budget?
Right.
Full circle.
Yeah, but I don't have anything. I don't think.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot, and this concludes the first annual Bible Brodown Throwdown Quiz Show, and we'll see if there will be a second one.
All right.
All right.
Bless.
Okay.
God
Bye-bye.
bless.